Welcome to Loremen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm Alistair Beckett-King.
And I'm James Shakeshaft.
In this episode, we're joined by Deputy Lawperson Sooz Kempner, telling us about the Gremlins of World War II. Hello, James.
Hiya, Alistair.
We don't usually begin like that, but...
Normally, because it's just one of us telling the other one a story, we go, I've got a story for you.
Yes.
But instead of a story, you've got a person.
James, look over there. There is a Deputy Lawperson in the studio. It's Sooz Kempner.
Hello.
Hello, how are
I've
you?
been waving for a while. Readers.
I wasn't sure if you were a ghost or something.
No. My pallor is just the time of year.
Yeah, you do have a sort of dead Victorian vibe. Is that?
I think I do, yeah. I often think it's a shame that the silent movie actress look hasn't come back.
Yeah.
Because, put a flat cap on me and, I could be stealing a bun from a market stall and then a title card come up saying, here, come back with that. And something. Yeah.
Sooz, you are a comedian and singer and former Christina Aguilera impersonator.
Yes, tribute act is what we were officially called.
We?
The tribute community.
Oh, right, okay.
They're vicious.
I wondered if you actually had a genie in the bottle. And it was a double act.
Christina Aguilera uses the royal we, and
she does.
Sooz is still in character.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm very method.
We're a little bit dirty.
I was more grubby.
But she did say, yeah, anyway.
Were you about to demonstrate more Christina Aguilera knowledge than we'd have credited you with?
Yeah, because I've gone
and you
out.
pulled back.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say, she does say sweat dripping over our body, but in that bit she is talking about two people rather than using the royal we.
You really know the lyrics.
Oh, yeah, I remember Dirty. It was on the box all the time.
Yeah, because the video was quite sexy because she was wearing them chaps in a boxing ring.
If I remember
that's
correctly...
chaps the type of trousers,
She was wearing
not
chaps.
gentlemen.
That song, Dirty, if you actually read the lyrics, because I had to sing it a lot, obviously, as a tribute, the lyrics are basically, hey, let's all go down the club. I've got hipster jeans on. We're dancing, we're a bit hot. Let's go in the car park. It's literally but the song was called Dirty and had a sexy video, so it was really
So the
controversial.
content is fairly clean.
Yeah, I mean, it said let's do some sexy dancing in a club. And now,
Sounds reasonable.
And now me and my mates all in the car park. It's basically that.
It's just a night out.
Basically,
What I did on my Friday night by Christina Aguilera, age 19. Whereas Genie in a Bottle sounds like it's going to be a nice fairy tale. But that seems,
and it's all about a pun about rubbing me the right way.
Yeah. And
Extina, no.
So you're from, I think, Hawley.
That's right, yes.
What is Hawley known for? What will the listener know Hawley from, apart from being at the end of the train I get home?
Someone that Newton Faulkner, who I'm sure has come up in conversation when people go, you look like Newton Faulkner.
The listener should know that I look like how Newton Faulkner looked like 15 years ago.
yeah, he's got skinhead now.
Yeah, he cut his hair.
He's sort of from there.
I'm also about a foot taller than him. But
Oh,
it's not
really? Is
important.
he a little guy?
I have no idea. I don't know where I've got that from.
You actually don't look like him, do
I don't
you?
look like him. I've just got
You
similar
both
hair.
have the same hair.
He had like dreads, though. I don't have dreads.
No. She's got hair.
I've got Princess Merida hair.
Who's Princess Merida hair?
She's off the
Princess
Tangled.
Merida from Disney's Brave.
Oh, Brave.
Brave.
The red,
Yes,
the
yes.
Scottish one.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's from there, but that's not very interesting.
Is he Scottish? Oh no, he's from Hawley. Sorry,
Yeah,
I thought
he's
you were
sort
saying
of
He's
from
not,
the area.
he's not from the Pixar film.
There's the guy from Warhorse went to my school.
Warhorse,
An
I
actor
always
in
say. The actor.
Warhorse.
Oh, right.
He's also been in Merlin. Went to my school. I'm from there.
But I'm sure
That's about as good as Hawley gets.
I'm sure in terms of folklore, it is rich. You said that you found one piece of folklore related to
because
Hawley.
you said, have you got anything local? And I thought, no. And then I typed in folklore Hawley into Google, and the only thing I could find is there's a pub called the Six Bells, which is recently had to be shut for refurbishment because it caught on fire. Maybe through crazy folklore, I don't know. Or just because everyone in Hawley's awful, someone set fire to it. It was known for about 100 years to be the oldest pub in England. It dated from 800 AD.
What?
And was
That's
the oldest
ridiculous.
pub in England. And then about 15 years ago, some people looked into it and it turned out, well, it's old, but it's from like 1450 or something. It's not the oldest pub in England.
Oh, yeah, because the Star Inn in York is older than that.
Right. The Six Bells has nothing of interest. A few murders and a fire. That's...
Oh.
So your folklore is just that people in Hawley have lied?
It's literal folklore. It's a lie.
Well, I've got to say, people lying is the mainstay of the stories we normally do.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
People just fudging it a little bit.
Yeah.
I should say, aside,
Is this a
we
swearing?
don't swear on the podcast. So I'll bleep it, which
You
is
can
fine.
bleep, I won't swear
it
again.
always sounds like you're saying, that's the problem with it. So when you bleep it, whatever it is, you'll be saying like, he was a little bit of a but in the bleep, that's like, wow, they're calling Noel Edmonds a
worse. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I'll take out the swears.
So we tried not to swear.
Right.
But you can.
Or talk about Noel Edmonds.
Or talk about it. There's been quite a lot of Noel Edmonds slander in previous episodes.
Really?
So we just try and tone it down.
Because my mum's a dressage rider and his daughter was on the National Young Riders team. There was a period of my childhood where I'd be at horse shows with my mum and constantly seeing Noel Edmonds, so supporting his daughter and like a nice dad. But every time, like, imagine being 11 in the mid-90s and there's Edmonds, and I'd be like, oh my God, it's Edmonds. I used to really think it was exciting every time I saw him.
Did you think that you were part of a gotcha Oscar?
He got me again.
Yeah, the old school fans who remember when they were called Gotcha Oscars and not just
They were
Gotchas.
called Gotcha Oscars.
Yeah, they changed it to just Gotchas after a while.
Previously, it was the Academy of Gotcha and Sciences.
Oh, that's annoying because now we have to leave that bit in and we have to slander Edmonds in this episode as well.
We haven't slandered him
No,
this time.
I said was he supported his kids, and also I thought it was exciting to see him in 1996.
Yeah.
No slander.
Because of Operation U-Tree, Edmonds just seems like a benign idiot now, doesn't he?
Well, there you go. That's a compliment, Edmonds, if you're listening.
The bar is now very low.
And quite fit as well from I'm a Celeb.
Do you think he spent 3 months on the lead up going, I'll show them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be
definitely.
ripped Edmonds.
Yeah.
We haven't once called him Noel either.
Well, we don't know him. It's too personal.
No, yeah, exactly.
Edmonds is respectful.
Yeah.
So while we were rooting around for folklore that relates to you, you mentioned that Hawley is near Gatwick Airport.
We're next. Like, I'm a 5-minute drive from Gatwick Airport.
Very
so
convenient.
whenever I go on holiday, about once every 8 to 10 years, it's very useful. But yeah, they're right next to Gatwick Airport.
Very tangentially then.
Yes.
What subject have you brought to the Loremen table?
Airports, air travel, you say. Basically, way back, stretching back over 100 years, early Air Force pilots would talk about miniature imps, gnomes or fairies which show intense interest in aviation, and they cause aircraft or navigation system malfunctions, and they became known as the Gremlins.
Gremlins.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Gremlins, James?
Yeah, I was prepped for this episode, so I Googled Gremlins, and I know a lot about that film now.
So it's... Should we get the film out of the way? Because it's not the film...
No,
it's
that's
not
what a
film
gremlin
Gremlins.
is, no.
I watched it last Christmas as an adult for the first time. And it is an odd film.
It is, isn't it?
So the whole story hinges on the dad being away at an expo on Christmas Eve. Who would have an expo on? Who's hosting that? Who's attending that? The whole premise makes no sense.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, Christmas isn't a national holiday in Chinatown, probably. Is it?
I get the Chinatown people not taking it amazingly seriously.
This is very much
But
a movie
it can't
for
just
them.
be Chinese and Orthodox Jewish people at the Inventors Expo. It's not. You would notice. You'd be able to tell from the costumes if that were the case.
It's an oddly paced film.
But there's also, it's basically a horror comedy, which I didn't realise. But then
Quite
there's
violent. You wouldn't want young kids watching it, and it feels like
it's
a film
kids' film with violence.
The sort of film
was a
that
15.
E.T. and the Goonies would be put alongside,
Yes.
and it shouldn't be.
Oh, no, it's a 15. Have you seen Gremlins 2, the new batch?
No.
I don't think I ever have. No.
It's mad. It's
so it's different.
Basically, Joe Dante was just allowed, in order, Gremlins was such a big success. In fact, fun fact, the poster that everyone remembers of Gremlins is Spike burst into a picture of a poster.
Oh, yeah.
And he's holding a pen, and in crayon it says, "We're back" for Gremlins 1. Because it was re-released because it came out of the cinema and was a bit of a sleeper hit, and then was re-released into the cinema with the We're Back thing, because it's not a sequel and there's nothing like about them having previously run the world or something and then coming back in. But actual Gremlins was such a big success that Joe Dante was given carte blanche to make the sequel, could do whatever he wanted, and he made this crazy satire on Trump and like the media and stuff like that, and that's...
I see.
The film is really weird. There's a bit where the Gremlins get into the projection booth of the film that you're watching and cause the film to be pulled down.
That's quite
basically, fun. And rip it out. And I think actually there's a slightly different version on the video where it looks like your tracking's going. And I remember being completely fooled by that. And then Hulk Hogan turns up and shouts at the Gremlins. Anyway.
It's like when 8-year-olds have written stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you recognise the town square?
Is it the same one as your favourite film, Back to the Future?
Yes, it's the same set as Back to the Future. It's Hill Valley.
And also, more importantly, the music video for Why Don't You Get a Job by The Offspring.
Excuse me?
You know that song?
Yeah.
My friend's got a girlfriend and she hates Noel Edmonds.
Not our words.
Yeah, take it up with The Offspring. The original pranksters.
Would there, if their
they walk around the set from, it's that same Hill Valley.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the same backlot.
Because it was in Universal Studios in the California one. It was you could go and visit it, but it did actually catch fire and burn down.
Like the Six Bells.
A few years ago. Yes, exactly.
Like the Six Bells in Hawley.
It used to be the oldest film set.
Is there anything else you want to add about the film Gremlins?
Well, I don't know.
Any research you did?
Do we want to talk about the Twilight Zone thing?
Oh,
I forgot about the Twilight Zone.
That's the first thing I thought of when I read about these, where it came from. These pilots in the 20s were saying, oh, yes, I saw these little things climbing about on my plane. I instantly recontextualised the Twilight Zone episode, the famous Shatner. He did the second one, didn't he?
Does Shatner and John Lithgow?
Shatner and Lithgow.
Shatner's the first one, and then
Was it called Terror at 20,000 feet?
Yes. And it recontextualised it. I went, oh, it's a very mentally disturbed ex-pilot, ex-war pilot seeing a gremlin on the plane.
Wow. Is that actually the subtext of it then, that he's got like PTSD or something?
To me, now. It is. Because he's the right age to have been a pilot in his late teens. Certainly in the first one.
There's a third version.
Is there?
In the new redo of the Twilight Zone.
Oh, right.
But I just read a synopsis on Wikipedia. They've apparently got rid of the gremlin completely.
What? So it's just a guy on a plane going,
just a satire of capitalism. It's like, I haven't got that much leg room. This food is not great.
The Offspring, the band,
yes.
If all their kids joined together and formed a band, what would they call themselves?
Offspring squared. Offspring cubed.
So to draw that tangent upon a tangent to a close, the Gremlins we're talking about are in the Royal Air Force.
That's it. Yeah, and they first became sort of a highly publicised thing. In 1923, a Brit pilot crashed into the sea and reported that it was caused by tiny creatures that climbed onto his plane and ruined the plane and caused a crash, which is very much someone thinking on their feet as to why my attention waned and I crashed into the sea, isn't it?
One version of it that I read, he claims that the creatures crawled, and he's really handing it to us on a plate, they crawled out of a beer bottle the night before and followed him to work and got on. It's like,
do you think he was
is he aware of the subtext?
Do you reckon it all got out of hand and he went, oh no, it was a metaphor, I was drunk.
Yeah.
They were obviously not realising. I was telling you I was literally drunk.
It's like Churchill talked about his black dog. There's people out there going, Churchill was followed around by a massive black dog. Did you know that?
Wow, I never saw it on any of the videos.
Yeah, they don't tell you about the giant dog that stalked him, like the Hound of the Baskervilles. People didn't get metaphors.
They just didn't. But then other
pilots.
this got publicised it was published in a newspaper, and other pilots read it and went, "Oh yeah, and that happened to me as well. Little tiny gremlins climbing around in my plane."
The weird thing is, I was trying to find a source for that because we do usually look things up in books for this podcast.
Books, real books.
And most of the versions of that story seem to reference The Great Gremlin Caper, which was a book published in 2001.
Oh.
It's the only book I've ever discovered. If you Google it, an Amazon link does not come up.
Oh.
So I can't. All I can find is websites that reference it. I can't find any proop that is an actual book and
it's
not
like
just a pamphlet.
Folkloric book.
Yeah,
it's not real.
The earliest and most authoritative source I could find about gremlins was the Handbook of Social Psychology by Kimball Young, 1946. So, so this was a few years after sort of the story broke America.
Yeah.
So a couple of decades after the first sighting, but a few decades after it broke America.
Right.
And Kimball Young goes through the genuses of gremlins. So the types. So there's the jockey. They would ride seagulls. And smash them into windows.
Oh, I didn't get that far in my research. That's
it's really
very
victim blaming, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, another seagull has flown into my plane. How unreasonable is it?
How was it dressed? It had a tiny saddle, but it's his own fault.
The
jockeys! Of course, I don't know if that's you're a jockey-sized person. Is that is it a slur these days to say jockey?
No,
can we still say that? You can't say anything.
You can't say anything anymore. Can't even call little people who ride seagulls jockeys anymore. No, you're fine, I think.
I feel bad. I feel bad for doing that accent for the free speech accent. I feel that's unfair to people from the estuary.
That's classist.
It is classism.
I don't want to be the appropriate naming PC gone madman, but there is no such thing as a seagull. They are actually all just gulls.
Seabird.
Oh wow.
Oh, just a gull.
They're just gulls.
So you can't say seagull.
You can't say seagull nowadays.
Ornithologists get offended.
You get told off for classism a lot.
That's one type of gremlin. Other types of gremlin include optic, who have red or green eyes that glow, and they would get into the sights for the bombs when you're dropping your bombs, and they would make you think you were on the target when you weren't on the target.
They're a bit more like the movie Gremlins then.
Well, they really start to branch out quite quickly. There's apparently females were called fifinellas, and babies were called Widget, which is a little bit like Gizmo.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah.
There were Chemlins, which were the chemist's version of Gremlins.
That's a brilliant pun.
Aquatic Asst, who was responsible for hard water and appeared in an advertising campaign about soft water. And this has clearly reached America by this point because the names get so cute. CP Sam and Squeaky Squire, who got into cars and made them sort of... Because you know what cars were like in the 40s?
Yeah.
They sounded like bed springs.
Yeah.
Like a bad impression of bed springs.
And the car horn it wouldn't stop anyone doing anything except for being annoyed. Just be cheered up.
That's a very good car horn you've got on you there.
Yeah.
I can't believe you brought the car horn to the recording space.
Yeah, I keep one in my pocket just for podcasting opportunities.
The reason it all broke in the 40s is that Roald Dahl, popular children's author Roald Dahl, wrote a book about gremlins.
I didn't know that.
Well, so on the front cover of the book it says something like First Lieutenant Roald Dahl. So he was still a part of the RAF.
Okay.
And so he wrote, based on the folklore that had grown up in the RAF, he wrote a story of he invented a motivation for the gremlins, which was that they lived in the forests of Scotland, which were then felled to build RAF bases, and so they were really angry at the RAF pilots.
So it's a little bit, you took away the gravestones, but you didn't remove the bodies.
And in that story, then, the pilot persuades the gremlins that the Nazis are the real enemy, and they help defeat Hitler.
Oh, I see.
But it's a really odd one because I had heard about that before, and my understanding was that Roald Dahl had hated that book and suppressed its republication, which is why none of us have ever heard about it or read it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a fun story.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun story.
Was it one of his kids' ones or one of his...
It was a kids' one. It was his first kids. It was his first kids' one. It was a huge hit. In the 40s, the book, it was supposed to be a Disney movie.
Huh?
And it was illustrated by Disney, by Walt Disney Company, not Disney, he couldn't draw.
Wow, more
I know
slurs.
I sounded a little bitter there.
Wow.
Walt Disney couldn't draw.
Ouch.
I said it.
Goodness.
Try and censor that, James.
Yeah, you can't say anything anymore, but, the so-called tolerant left.
But for some reason it didn't happen. I think it might have been the RAF claimed some kind of rights over it. I think who owns the idea of gremlins was in dispute because Roald Dahl didn't invent them, so it never turned into a movie.
Bass Brewery owns them because they came out of the beer bottle, perhaps.
Oh, yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's the brewers.
I think there is a group of brewers called Gremlins.
Really?
Which is one, because nobody knows where the word came from. It seems like a variation on goblin, but there's no agreed etymology.
There's an old word, gream. There's the old word gream, which refers to like niggles in things.
Yeah, and there's the Dutch word gremlin, I think, which means dirty or unclean.
Right,
but the OED don't accept any of those. No one knows quite where it came from as a word, except from the gremlins themselves.
They know.
That checks out.
Yeah, so I think there's clearly something going on with the Roald Dahl story because we don't know why. Well, I understood that he hated it,
right?
But there's on the now official Roald Dahl website. There's no mention of him having hated it or suppressed it. Oh. So it's like they've covered that up, which is weird that they would cover that up but not cover up his repeated anti-Semitic statements.
Well, yeah.
Because that's all. It's an odd thing to try and... It's an odd thing to keep quiet about.
Yeah, because that story... I mean, I hate Roald Dahl for the anti-Semitism, which is, if you haven't read it, readers, look it up. You'll have your mind blown.
Yeah.
But
he was a great children's author.
Yeah,
not in dispute.
I heard his little story about the Gremlins just now for the first time today, and I'm into it. I forgive him.
I mean,
the little gremlins who run the banks and control the media.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what the book is.
Even a real stinker like Hitler wouldn't have hated Gremlins for no reason. That's genuine Roald Dahl quote, but replace Gremlins with something else.
There was a song.
Oh.
Have you found a song?
No.
In your research?
The Gremlins song?
Yeah.
Is it...
A song about gremlins. Terrifying. How can a body as large as yours produce that sound?
Such a beautiful, delicate sound. It's pronounced malodious. A malodorous.
If that noise had come out of Sooz, I wouldn't have batted an eye. But coming out of you, it's sinister.
It's like I've got a tiny person trapped inside of me, singing for help.
I don't know whether I should read the whole... It's not that long. Shall I read the whole song?
I don't know how long it is.
When you're 7 miles up in the heavens, that's a hell of a lonely spot, and it's 50 degrees below zero, which isn't exactly hot. When you're frozen blue like your Spitfire, and you're scared mosquito pink, when you're 1,000 miles from nowhere, and there's nothing below but the drink, it's then you'll see the gremlins. Green and gamboge and gold. You can tell how posh the RAF people were with gamboge.
What's that? Is that a colour?
It's mustardy yellow.
It's a good word.
But they've gone for the alliteration. Yeah. Green and gamboge and gold, male and female, and neuter.
Oh,
woke
very woke.
Yeah.
The gremlins. We got non-binary gremlins in here.
Cool.
Don't tell Twitter. The right will be furious.
Going down in my aeroplane going, cancel culture has gone too far.
The gremlins cancelled him for being too woke.
You can't say anything to gremlins these days.
Male and female and neuter. Gremlins, both young and old. It's no good trying to dodge them. The lessons you learn on the link won't help. That didn't rhyme.
No.
Maybe in a posh RAF accent it would have rhymed. The lessons you learn on the link won't help you evade the gremlin. Though you boost and you dive and you jink, the white ones will wiggle your wingtips.
Right.
Okay.
More anti-white.
Yeah, there we go.
The white ones will wiggle your wingtips. The male ones will muddle your maps. Green ones will guzzle your glycol. Females will flutter your flaps. Am I right, guys?
What's glycol?
I do not know. A aeroplane thing. I assume it's a liquid you need for your plane.
It feels like I should know what it is. It must be like a mechanical lubricant or something.
You do not want it guzzled.
No,
at the end of the day, you need it.
Pink ones will perch on your perspex and dance pirouettes on your prop. There's a spherical middle-aged gremlin who'll spin on your stick like a top. Or it could be he'll spin on your stock like a top.
Must be stick, like your gear stick.
Like your gear stick.
But then I think stock is also a bit of a plane, isn't it?
Okay.
Like where
Maybe.
the engine is or something.
Yeah, the other version of it that I've
make
seen.
their mind up.
They'll freeze up your camera shutters. They'll bite through your aileron wires. I don't know. They'll bend on your brake and they'll batter. They'll insert toasting forks in your eyes.
Wow.
It really takes us away.
My goodness.
This is a different version to the version that I discovered online, which has been cleaned up and has no toasting forks in the eyes.
Less violence, more PG, less 15.
Wow. So that's the... I mean, you're a singer, Sooz. Would you like to sing?
It sounds sort of like... Even though it's a posh RAF man, but it does sound like it'd be like one of those old George Formby songs.
Yeah.
Spin on your stick like a top. I don't like the rhyme scheme, like when there isn't one.
It seems to go all over the place.
Yeah. Sounds like one of my songs I have to write drunk on my podcast.
We haven't actually mentioned your podcast.
You don't have
do you want to plug your podcast?
I mean...
As you slipped it in so subtly?
I did, didn't I? Oh, it sounds a bit like... Sorry, just like... I did a podcast called Mystery on the Rocks with comedians Chris Stokes and Masood Milas, and we try to solve real-life unsolved mysteries. For example, unsolved murders, unsolved missing persons, unsolved X-Files, and we drink cocktails on the podcast, and also I write a song about what we're talking about and sing it at the end, and the songs do vary in quality depending on how much I've drunk.
It's a very good podcast. I have one last account.
Okay.
Listeners might hear the sound of barrels being loaded in the background because we're at an RAF base.
Yeah, and they're delivering barrels. A fresh batch of gremlins.
So I tried to find a straightforward account of gremlins. So I ended up on Cryptozoology News, that respected organ of newsworthy notables.
Wasn't that the only news site that got the 2019 election results dead on?
Better still, this story comes from an unnamed source, identified as LW, age 92 at time of writing. And he was a Boeing pilot in the Second World War. And his father, well, here's why I don't think we should pay him too much attention. He's from Arkansas. I can't do an Arkansas accent. Also, I'm very angry about Arkansas because I have been pronouncing it Arkansas right up until yesterday.
Oh, no.
I mean, it 100% reads like Arkansas.
Because you're in a Sean Bean situation. It's Arkansas and Kansas, or it's Arkansas and Kansas.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And
Am I crazy?
No, it's not you, mate.
It sounds like a carpenter.
I'd heard of Arkansas. I thought it was another place, as well as Arkansas.
I know the exact feeling. Yeah.
So his father was an Episcopal preacher from Arkansas. And he begins his story by saying, and this will just be a general American idiot voice.
Do Bill Clinton, he's from there.
Is he? All right.
Yeah.
I'm Bill Clinton. Okay.
That's good.
When you're a preacher's kid, well, you either turn out an angel or a complete devil. I kind of went in between. Right, useless.
What?
You've contradicted yourself in the first sentence.
Yes.
That's not accurate. So he saw 3 foot tall, grey, long-eared and red-eyed creatures on his plane. His belief is that it was Roswell aliens. So he didn't make sense of it until later on when he heard the story of the Roswell incident.
Right.
So this is where I mean you've got to bear in mind this is Cryptozoology News. So the recommended articles.
So it's breaking.
The suggested links include dwarf Bigfoot spotted in Los Angeles.
Right.
That's a monkey.
Dwarf Bigfoot.
It's a very small Bigfoot. And my favourite one, which is woman, Bigfoot likes grapes. That's the headline. I didn't read on.
I think you get everything.
Some good sub-editors.
How does she know?
News. She's been feeding him grapes.
Yeah, he loved them.
I didn't read the story.
He yummed them up.
So obviously that is all nonsense and clearly without the usual area we would talk about on this podcast.
But the red-eyed monster that shows up in these sort of old tales and pre-aeroplane tales, that's the thing. Like, there's quite a famous British one about it's a headless monster that has red eyes.
Oh.
Wow, that's
what, they're in its neck?
I don't know.
Do the eyes just float?
I don't know. That's just what it's described as by these people.
There's a clear connection between this and sort of traditional folk stories of mischievous spirits and sprites. What isn't clear is how seriously the RAF people were taking it.
Yeah. I doubt any pilots were literally going, yeah, for real.
Well, but I think that probably, because there are so many stories of pilots seeing UFOs, I think you probably do freak out sometimes in high-pressure situations, and people probably do see things and come back with weird stories. And so there probably is
up there.
Not necessarily a basis in real gremlins, but a basis in some people really saying, I thought I saw a little man on the wing. Not in a Hawley accent, I thought I saw a little man on the wing.
That's what I sound like.
I thought I saw a little fellow on the wing. Gremlins are real is what I'm saying.
Maybe they burned down the 6 bells.
Yeah.
Time for the scores.
Oh, yes. Bring it.
So, James, what is your score for the Gremlins of World War II in the category of names?
Well,
wait, before you answer that question, the image of the gremlin was popularised by the artist Boris Artsibashev.
Okay, it's 5, yeah.
That's good.
I realised I've forgotten to mention Boris.
Artsibashev. That's good.
I apologise to Russians and people of Slavic descent or whatever that name is. So he drew Aquatic Asst and a few of he drew advertising campaigns with gremlins in them for all kinds of products.
Right.
So he's famous for the sort of the little green 3-foot tall man.
The little impy type thing. Oh, yeah. You've got some great names in there. Aquatic Asst being one of them. I like the fact that they've employed the old portmanteau. They're they're very ahead of the curve on that one.
Yeah.
Because like the old portmanteau or panto I'd say that's quite a modern vernacular, and quite an sort of an easy and lazy comedy trope or crope. Yeah.
The female babies in Roald Dahl's book, at least, are called flibbertigibbets.
Yeah,
Is that where that comes from?
No, I think it's just a word. It means a flighty woman, I think, flibbertigibbet.
Oh, of course it is. Roald Dahl, of course it does.
Or maybe I might be confusing it with fizzjig or fizzgig, never know.
Fezziwig, that's Dickens.
That's Dickens. All the great writers.
All the
great anti-Semitic writers. Dostoevsky doesn't have any funny named characters.
Dostoevsky's quite a fun name to say.
Dostoevsky, that's a good long name there.
Yeah, that's a fun name.
Charles Dickens.
Yeah, Roald Dahl. I got to go for a 5, I think. Because as well, the fact that it's a completely invented name, the Gremlin, that we don't know where it came from. They coined it. Yeah,
that's interesting because it's such a quote-unquote modern creation, which I hadn't in my research. I thought, well, it's going to go back to the 1500s. And it's a 20th century thing, but no one knows where the word came from.
I suppose it's the thing, no one knows where they came from. Were they
true.
Were they always up there just waiting for planes to be invented?
Hanging about, waiting to jump in a beer bottle, then come out of it.
Just riding on gulls for no reason.
Jockeying about.
Yeah.
The next category, supernatural.
Well.
Oh, come on, James. Come on.
It's the thing. Are they a creature that somehow lives up in the air that we've only managed to come into contact with since we've been able to fly?
Hitherto unknown to science.
Or are they simply a euphemism for being drunk?
Yes.
Because that's kind of what it is. Or oxygen deficiency, or just basically pressure cracking people in high pressure environments who are sort of sharing a sort of mass delusion. Or
are they magic sky goblins?
Or are they magic sky goblins?
Yes.
That is.
For the purposes of this category, you're going to say yes.
I believe yes. Take it up with Cryptozoology News.
Oh, yeah. I don't
the word news gets thrown around too often. Finally, a website where it's correct.
It's the only website prepared to tell the truth. Without media bias. He does like grapes. Bigfoot does like grapes.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? They're great.
Everyone likes grapes. Have you ever heard anyone say no to a grape?
Never.
No, you bring them to people who are ill because they're that good. I think it's only going to be a 3, though, because there's too many other possibilities.
Too many other realistic explanations.
Yeah, if there was like a very definitive gremlin incident that we could not argue with, like...
No, there isn't one of those.
There isn't one.
There isn't one reliable account of gremlins having done anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear in a made-up book.
Unless the Roswell aliens were them. And it sounds actually like it was someone doing a bit of a joke about how drunk they were flying a plane and it just got out of hand.
But what a baller move to have crashed a plane into the sea and then come out going, here's a hilarious story about me obviously being drunk.
What was it? Oh, it was Gremlins. What do you mean? Well, fella came out of the beer bottle last night. Wink, wink.
Imagine being able to adopt that tone after crashing a plane into the sea.
That's the RAF
These
guys.
Fly boys.
You can tell it was boom time, can't you? 1923, you can tell, because that's when all the fluff news pieces come out. It's always in peace times when the economy's doing well. That's when you get rubbish like this.
Well, I suppose
lady.
It's after the end of the Second World War. Well, actually, no, the book is published during the Second World War. But it's after the end of the Second World War that it really takes off in American culture as well, as an advertising concept. All right, 3 for supernatural. You're a hard taskmaster. Taster. Third category, franchisability.
Yeah, massive. We've already, in talking about them, we've already advertised a whole bunch of products that probably don't exist anymore.
We have toys.
Yeah, stuff for your car from America, from the 50s.
Whatever it is you get to treat hard water.
Yeah, water softener.
That'll be it.
Yep. Yeah, this is, massive. There's films. TV shows.
There's a TV show.
Well, there was 2 episodes of the
of course, the Twilight Zone.
3 episodes of the Twilight Zone that are all the same.
One's in a film, isn't it?
Yeah, the movie version.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so it's been on both the big and small screen.
It's and
it was a book.
Very much a modern.
I had the book when I was my parents. I don't know if you have this experience. There were just things in the house that I can't explain how they got there. They had the novelisation of Gremlins, which they have not read and have no interest in, and they had on cassette the soundtrack to The Lost Boys.
That's bizarre.
Oh, wow.
Which both shaped my childhood. I really like the People Are Strange.
Yes.
Although now listening back, it's like the incel national anthem. Women are mean and horrible when you're alone. Good song, though.
Those new movie novelizations were a big thing for a while.
Oh, mate.
I had Alien and I had E.T. and they were both, I think, by the same guy.
Alan Dean Foster.
Alan Dean Foster,
I had
and
the
he wrote
Alien
tons
ones.
of them.
Yeah, I had the Batman one.
He used
Batman
to really
Returns.
sexualise stuff from the film. Yeah, in Alien... There's no real.
How do you make Alien sexier than it already is?
There's nothing in Alien where the guys and the women in it are like there's sexual tension. There's no time
they just
for
don't
it.
work.
They
It's like an
wake
oil
up,
rig.
and it was written in a way where any gender could play any role deliberately. But in the film, they all wake up from suspended animation. Whatever
In the
it
book,
is.
sorry.
In the book, even they wake up from their deep sleep thing, and he's like written it. Oh, he looked over at his crew members' lithe, naked form. I was like, they weren't naked in the film, and nobody was checking anyone out. They woke up, started flying, and then an alien was about.
And also, it's Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to see him naked.
I think they were checking out Veronica, whatever her face, Sigourney Weaver,
Ian Holm. Similarly, the novelisation of Gremlins was pretty sexy. Pretty sexy. I was too scared.
That female gremlin
she's
I
hot.
started
and
reading
the
it.
flasher gremlin.
I was too
yeah.
scared. I didn't get past
Actually, female gremlin might be in the sequel.
Okay,
I
the
didn't get
E.T.
past-
book was sexy as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it not his finger that was glowing? I'll be right here.
I'll be right here. There were genuinely passages in the E.T. book where E.T. we hear is in a monologue and he's in love with the mum.
Oh.
And he's going to put a rose on her pillow and stuff. And then it has the mum's in a monologue where she's been single a while and she goes, oh, hopefully there'll be a sex attacker in my room tonight. And then she gets to her room and there's no one there. Oh, they'll have to come back another time, I hope. And it's really like, oh, a man wrote this in the 80s.
Wow. So on that terrifying note, what's the score for franchisability?
Oh, 5, definitely.
Yes.
Everyone knows Gremlins. Like, the Gremlins are the concept of them is so famous, you've got to go about 4 pages deep to get away from the film version of them. They're massive. It's huge.
Final category, woke.
Oh.
Yeah, because the Gremlins were very woke, non-binary.
Yep. Yeah, they're gender fluid. They're chill with colour.
Yeah,
Like,
they're all different colours. They're like the United Colours of Benetton.
Yeah.
What could be more woke? 20-year-old advertising campaign.
No.
Also,
They're doing their bit for the environment by reducing the carbon footprint, by taking down planes.
they hate Nazis.
They hate the
hate
Nazis.
Obsessed with the Nazis.
They even made Roald Dahl.
Hate the
good.
Nazis for a
They
bit.
even made Roald Dahl.
Yeah, sort of, and they mob and attack people online, like
They're the Twitter
not
left.
online, but in the sky. It's very similar
To the
Twitter left.
to the image of the Twitter left, whereas actually everyone's awful.
I don't think left wingers are drilling holes in people's fuel tanks that often.
Yeah, no,
Are they the spherical ones spinning on their sticks?
that's his mother-in-law, isn't it? He's directing her out there in that song. Spherical lady spinning like a top, criticising me.
One middle-aged.
Yeah, I made it a woman.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm the sexist.
No, well, it would have been sexist to assume that the default is male, Sooz.
That's true. So I'm woke.
Yeah,
5
but-
points for me.
You also have the neuter option with the gremlin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
like with horses.
There's no middle option with horses. Is
Yeah,
there?
but, I mean there isn't. Yeah, but people often say, "Oh, and they often say the gelder. That's the other gender of horse." I'm like, it's not. It's just a castrated horse.
Without wanting to be a sort of biological essentialist about this. No.
Yeah, no, it's not true. But yeah, is that what he's referring to? Is he saying that they've been neutered, some of these gremlins? How did he know.
I mean, you have to get maybe when they're spinning on the stick.
Yeah, things are waving about in the breeze.
I guess. I mean, if they're just like castrato gremlins descending on you, maybe it's from the sound of them. Yeah, maybe that explains the really high noise that you can make, James.
I mean, they sound like the sort of things that if they had genitals, they'd be waving them about.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's the one problem with the film is that that you can't see their genitals.
That William
Can we
Shatner...
cut the bit where I said that's the one problem with the film? That I want to see puppet genitals.
Well, they're all neuters. That's why the Flashers. So when the Flasher flashes, he's a neuter. It's a neuter, rather.
Yeah, they are a new. Yeah.
I don't know. I think a gremlin's a nit.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So what's the score for woke?
Oh, massive. 5, definitely.
Brilliant.
Wow, high
Can
scores.
you say it in like Gizmo's voice?
What a franchisable story.
It's probably one of the few 20th century magical creatures we've encountered on the podcast.
Yeah.
If you can think of any other modern monsters, you can email us at contact@loremenpodcast.com or you can tweet us at loremenpod.
Just search for Loremen. That's us.
Lore men.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're using a voice activated speaker, you have to say Loremen. It turns out. Sounds weird.